The neighborhood of Oakwood Estates was the kind of place where the grass was clipped to a precise 2 inches, and the silence was usually broken only by the hum of high-end sprinklers. I had moved here for that silence. After 20 years in law enforcement, climbing the ranks to become the county sheriff, my home was my sanctuary. The centerpiece of that sanctuary was my backyard pool. It wasn't a community pool. I'd spent my life savings and a significant portion of my sanity building it. It featured custom stonework, a saltwater filtration system, and a waterfall that blocked out the sound of the world. It was Saturday afternoon, my first real day off in 3 weeks. I was sprawled on a lounge chair, eyes closed, a cold lemonade sweating on the side table. The only thing I was wearing was a pair of old swim trunks and a faded baseball cap pulled low over my eyes. I looked less like the high-ranking official who managed a department of 500 deputies and more like a guy who hadn't shaved in 4 days. The piece lasted exactly 12 minutes. The heavy thud of footsteps on my pool deck woke me. Then came the splash, a massive, inconsiderate cannonball that sent a wave of chlorinated water soaking into my lounge chair and my face. I sat up, wiping water from my eyes, and saw a teenager, probably 19 or 20, surfacing in the middle of my pool. He had bleached hair, a designer swimsuit that probably cost more than my first car, and an expression of supreme boredom. "Hey," I called out, my voice raspy from sleep, "what do you think you're doing?" The kid didn't even look at me. He swam to the edge, hoisted himself out, and reached for one of my towels. "Chill out, old man, I'm just using the water, it's hot." "You're in my backyard," I said, standing up. I'm 6'2" and still have the build of the linebacker I was in college, but the kid didn't seem even slightly intimidated. "This is private property, who are you?" "I'm Brandon," he said, drying his hair with my plush Egyptian cotton towel. "My mom is the president of the HOA, which means technically we own the easements and the drainage rights. She said this lot used to be part of the common area, so it's basically public. Now go inside and get me a Coke, real sugar, not the diet crap." I blinked. I've dealt with cartel members, bank robbers, and political sycophants, but the sheer, unadulterated audacity of this boy was something new. "Brandon," I said, my voice dropping into that low, dangerous tone I use for interrogations, "you have 10 seconds to put that towel down and walk back through the gate you broke to get in here. If you don't, things are going to get very complicated for you." Brandon laughed. It was a high, shrill sound. "You're threatening me? Do you know who my mother is? That's Sandra Miller. She can have your house foreclosed on for a lien on your lawn maintenance before the sun goes down. Now beat it, I'm having some friends over in 20 minutes. "Friends?" I asked. "In my pool." "Our pool," he corrected, checking his waterproof watch. "Now scram, you're ruining the vibe." Before I could respond, the side gate creaked open again. In marched a woman who looked like she had been carved out of pure indignation. She wore a crisp white linen suit, oversized sunglasses, and held a clipboard like a shield. This, I presumed, was Sandra Miller, the legendary HOA Karen I'd heard rumors about since I moved in. "Brandon, darling, did you tell the tenant to leave?" she asked, not even looking at me. "He's being difficult, Mom," Brandon whined. Sandra finally turned her gaze toward me. She looked me up and down, her lip curling at my salt and pepper chest hair and my worn-out flip-flops. "Listen, mister, whatever your name is, I've received several complaints about the aesthetic of your backyard. The waterfall is too loud and your choice of shrubbery is non-compliant. As a gesture of goodwill, I'm allowing Brandon to use the facilities while we process your fines. But right now, you're trespassing on a sanctioned HOA youth gathering. I'm going to need you to go inside and stay there." "Sanctioned HOA youth gathering," I repeated, almost impressed by the jargon, "in a private residence." "I signed the paperwork myself this morning," she said, tapping her clipboard. "I am the president. I am the law in Oakwood Estates. Now be a good little renter and disappear. I'd hate to call the police on you." I felt a slow, genuine smile spread across my face. It was the smile my deputies knew to fear. "You want to call the police, Sandra?" "It's Mrs. Miller to you," she snapped. "And yes, I have the sheriff's department on speed dial. The sheriff and I are very close. We have tea." I checked my phone, which was sitting on the table. No missed calls regarding tea. "Is that so? Well, since you're so close with the sheriff, maybe you won't mind if I call in a favor." "Go ahead," she sneered. "See who they listen to, a man who looks like a vagrant or the woman who runs this entire zip code." I picked up my phone and dialed the direct dispatch line. "This is Unit 1, I said, my voice clear and professional. "I have a 1045 in progress at my residence. I need a patrol unit for a trespass and a breaking and entering, priority 2. Sandra's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't lose her cool. "Unit 1, what kind of roleplay is this? You think because you have a scanner app you're a cop?" Brandon had hopped back into the pool. "Mom, tell him to shut up, he's boring." "Just ignore him, honey," Sandra said. "The real police will be here soon to escort him off the premises. I'll make sure his lease is terminated by Monday." "I own the house, Sandra," I said quietly. "There is no lease." "We'll see about that," she muttered, scribbling something on her clipboard. 10 minutes passed in a bizarre standoff. Brandon splashed around, Sandra stood guard like a gargoyle, and I sat back down on my wet chair, waiting. The silence of the neighborhood was suddenly pierced by the unmistakable wail of a siren. A black and white cruiser pulled up to the curb outside my gate. Two deputies, Miller and Higgins, stepped out. They were young, sharp, and currently looking very confused as to why they were at the sheriff's private residence. Sandra's face lit up. She scurried toward the gate, waving her arms. "Over here, officers, thank goodness you're here. We have a squatter who is being verbally abusive and refusing to leave the community recreation area." Deputy Miller, who I had personally pinned a commendation on last month, looked at her, then looked at me. He stopped dead in his tracks. He snapped a crisp salute. "Good afternoon, Sheriff. We got the call. What's the situation?" The silence that fell over the backyard was so heavy you could have drowned in it. Sandra's clipboard slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the pavers. "Sheriff," she whispered. Her face turned a shade of gray that matched my gravel driveway. Brandon stopped mid-stroke in the pool. He looked at the deputies, then at me, then at the gun, belt, and badge I had fetched from inside while they were pulling up. I hadn't put on the full uniform, but I had clipped the badge to my belt and thrown on my sheriff's office windbreaker. "Deputy Miller," I said, stepping forward. "This young man broke my gate latch to enter the property. When asked to leave, he demanded I bring him a soda. This woman, who claims to be close with me, though I don't recall our tea date, Sandra, informed me that my backyard is now public property." Miller looked at Sandra. He didn't smile, but I could see the twinkle in his eye. "Is that right, ma'am? You told the sheriff he was trespassing in his own house." I thought," Sandra stammered, "the records, the HOA map." "The HOA map doesn't override the Fourth Amendment, Mrs. Miller," I said, "and it certainly doesn't authorize your son to break into my yard." Brandon scrambled out of the pool looking like a drowned rat. He was shivering, though it wasn't cold. "Mom, do something." "Oh, she's going to do something," I said. "She's going to watch you get trespassed. And then she's going to explain to my deputies why she's filing false reports about sanctioned gatherings on private property." I turned to the deputies. "Escort the young man off the property. File a report for trespassing and criminal mischief for the gate. As for Mrs. Miller, I believe she has some paperwork to fix. If I see either of them on my property line again, I won't be calling dispatch. I'll be making the arrest myself." Sandra tried to find her voice. "Now, wait a minute, Sheriff, let's be neighbors about this. I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. I'm the president of the HOA, and I think we can overlook the gate issue if you just forget about the report." "I'm the sheriff of this county, Sandra," I said, stepping into her personal space. "In my world, being neighbors means not breaking into each other's homes. You've spent so long bullying people with your clipboard that you forgot that the law actually exists to protect everyone, even the people you think are beneath you." I pointed toward the gate. "Leave now." Brandon didn't even wait for his mother. He sprinted for the exit, barefoot and dripping wet. Sandra followed him, her heels clicking rapidly on the stone, her law of the HOA dignity shattered into 1,000 pieces. Deputy Miller lingered for a second. "Do you want us to take him down to the station, sir?" "No," I sighed, the adrenaline fading into a weary headache. "Just make sure they're gone, and Miller, check the HOA bylaws on the way out. I have a feeling Mrs. Miller is going to find herself facing a recall election very soon. I might just attend the meeting." "Copy that, Sheriff. Enjoy your swim." The gate clicked shut, the sirens faded, the neighborhood returned to its pristine, manicured silence. I looked at my pool. It was still there, the waterfall cascading beautifully over the rocks. But my towel was wet, my chair was soaked, and my lemonade had watered down. I walked over to the gate and looked at the broken latch. It was a small thing, easily fixed. But the look on Sandra's face when she realized that her authority stopped exactly where my property line began, that was worth the price of a new gate. I sat back down, closed my eyes, and listened to the water. This time, I knew no one would be interrupting. The HOA Karen had learned a very valuable lesson: you can rule the neighborhood, but you don't rule the sheriff.